So, employee engagement. First thing you must consider is involvement and engagement together. They're two different ways of interacting with your employees. I'll share a story from my own personal life to illustrate how involvement and engagement are both different, and if we get this wrong, it can result in disaster. During the pandemic, I had 2 kids. I was homeschooling now, as many of you were, and I had a toddler, 3-year-old Duke at the time, and then I had a little bitty baby. And when I was scheduling these training sessions, I would try to do it midday, right about the time the infant would be asleep, and I could let the other 3 kids play. The toy of choice in our house is Legos. The big kids enjoy the Legos, the little kid, the toddler enjoyed the Legos. I can hand them these yellow totes of Legos and say, go into the front living room, play Legos, mommy's got a call. And they would. They would play really well together. They would take these totes, carry them into the front living room and dump them. You could hear everywhere, thousands of Legos on this long farmhouse table. And Willow and Lincoln would sit at one end, and they would start building a structure, and Duke, the toddler, would sit at the other end. And now my big kids, for whatever reason, their favorite thing to build was a jail. I don't know why, but they loved to build a jail. They would call me in there. Mom, come look, this cell has a toilet, and this one has an extra gate, whatever it was. I don't know why, but that was their favorite. But Duke, on the other hand, Duke didn't have the engineering skills as my older children. Duke, on the other hand, he's only 3. He's just building a tower of Legos at this point. In his imagination, he might turn that over and it's a gun or a bow and arrow. What he was building was not as complex as what they were building. And I know what happens when I put them together. At some point while I'm doing the training, in a back room in my house, I would inevitably hear somebody yell, "Mom!" And I know exactly what had happened. And so as any professional, I would say, you know what, everyone, I think now is the perfect time for us to take a bathroom break. So we're going to break for about 10 minutes. You all go do what you need to do, and we'll be back here. Video off, hit mute. I go into the living room. If I could be a fly on the wall, I would tell you exactly what had happened. Not what I saw, but what had happened up to this point. The kids were all playing Legos just as I asked. My big kids had involved Duke. They gave him some Legos to play with. He was sitting at the same table. Think about your organization, your employees. Are you involving people? The people who don't have the same amount of experience as you. The people who don't know as much as you worry may not add as much to the conversation. Are you involving people? But Willow and Lincoln, they did involve Duke. We could check that box. Duke was at the table with them. He was even playing with Legos. They gave him some Legos to have on his own. He could have a small piece of what they were doing. But they were certain to make sure that when Duke, as little Duke is looking down at them, at what they're building, at how they're making it taller, wider, how they're creating people and putting them inside of there, Duke starts asking, can I come see? Can I build with y'all? Can I play? And as any good leader, they start encouraging Duke. Duke, you're doing such a good job. Keep going. We're so glad you're here. Wow, look at what you did. Yay! All in hopes that that will make him happy. That'll make him choose to continue to stay there so that they don't get in trouble. Duke, though, it's nice. I mean, the first few times that works. Duke puffs up his little chest and is happy with that. He'll even build a second gun and say, look, guys, look at what I did. They clap him up. But eventually, Duke has had enough of what he is doing. He wants something bigger. He wants something better. He wants to have a seat with them, not just at the table, but with them. He doesn't want to build beside them. He wants to build with them. Is it possible that you're involving people, encouraging them, giving them a small piece of what you're doing, saying, keep going, you're doing great, and they want more? if that's the case, they might do what Duke did that day. Duke, he's had enough. If you can picture Duke, he has white blonde hair, big blue eyes, and he never wears shirts or shorts at our house. It's just underwear on this little boy. Duke's had enough. He stands his little elephant feet up on that farmhouse table, and he marches down there, and he just kicks it off, their whole house, and it crashes, and that's when I hear, "Mom!" When I walk in, Duke's on the table like this, mad as can be. Willow and Lincoln are frustrated. I'm telling them, you all already know what I'm about to say. This is nothing new because we've had this conversation before. You all have involved Duke, but you have not engaged Duke. And because you involved him and did not engage him, he ruined it all. He destroyed it all. You all may have employees that maybe they don't come in and totally destroy everything you're doing, but maybe their apathy becomes so high that they could care less about the success really of the organization, that they're doing what they have to do to get by. Studies say 50% of them. And it may be that they're not paying attention one day and they reply to that email, or they miss something on a loan document. I tell my kids, imagine what would have happened if they would have both involved and engaged Duke instead. By only involving Duke, they made more distance between themselves. They were exhausting themselves trying to do good work and maintain what they had going on, make sure nothing bad happened over here, but it ended up a disaster. Instead, let's think about what involvement and engagement would do, because it will transform the outcome.